important, I say, that we not encourage our young people to repeat or extend our mistakes. We must have the courage to say to them, you will have to do everything differently, including the connection between economics, society, and agriculture. It is not a case any longer of us suggesting that there are people that we have to drag after us. Why ask them to repeat our disastrous, destructive mistakes? Today is a day to renew our commitment to the conservation of our water resource, to the achieving of universal food security, surely a great moral challenge, a world free from hunger, a just, sustainable and harmonious existence on our vulnerable planet that is in peril. Mille Buicas, Barbara. Thank you.
In Ireland during the 1847 famine.
Ok, merci. Aux Irlandais pendant la famine du 19e siècle.
I'm delighted, of course, to have been asked to be part of the World Food Forum and to be meeting here at the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations. For this forum is of immense importance, focused as we all know now, food security, and you have had it so often, the necessary transformation of our agri-food systems so that they may be fit for purpose to address urgent current challenges and indeed the different interacting crises that we have. It is very important that we say that changing the transformation in food systems is not about adjustment, no more than the destruction of our planet in relation to existing industrialization models is not about adjusting. It is about changing, and it requires making a significant commitment to original and new thinking. That's why I repeat what I said this morning. It would, in my view, be absolutely disgraceful to simply ask coming generations to repeat our mistakes. And equally, I say also, I'm not so certain about this intergenerational difference, because there are very many older people whose hearts have been broken at our failure to deal with, to achieve equality, to end hunger, and to make a world that would be characterized by cooperation rather than by conflict and war. The pursuit of resilience in our food systems may help us to see beyond disagreements and to begin resolving conflicts. The growing convergence of food systems and climate diplomacy should prompt us to overcome competing and wasteful silo approaches in multilateral diplomacy and to recommit to the United Nations 2030 Agenda and the Sustainable Development Goals. Our collective shared blueprint, after all, for a sustainable world and a secure humanity. I so wish the World Food Forum and all of its participants every success. My great gratitude to you for listening to me. Mille Buicas, thank you.
Io abbiamo sempre apprezzato molto le nostre visite in Italia.
2 anni fa per il incontro di Araioso fatto qui a Roma ed è come sempre
Just now, it is one of the most important ones since I became president in terms of the issues that we cover, but also of the sympathetic connection that there is between all of these issues and how they might be responded to between Italy and Ireland. I have to say that for me this meeting was something special as well, this gathering we have. It's a collaboration between, yes, the two ambassadors and the Department of Foreign Affairs, with a very valuable connection with the Department of Agriculture, to the events that I've been describing at FAO and at the Food and Agriculture Organization and IFAD and the World Food Programme. I think there has been brilliant, insightful cooperation by the Department of Agriculture, and it is so much appropriate that the Minister who is accompanying us here is Philippa Hackett, who is the Minister for State of the Department of Agriculture, Food and Marine, with responsibility for land use and biodiversity. And I think that that is so important. And I'm sure she met as we came in, which is one of the significant things of this week. The young people that whom the Department of Agriculture have funded so as to be an offended, who will in fact represent the very best possibilities we have for the necessary transformations in food systems. And drawn, as I think as well, not just from Ireland and the head of Macron is here, but also drawn from countries where Ireland is engaged in Africa. Italy is the location from the time of, people say about the founding of Europe, and I say that the best expression of the future of Europe is in the Ventotene Accords. Those men in jail in an island and so forth who wrote and said, we must never again have war. We must create a Europe that will be a beacon of peace to the whole world. These are strong, strong messages and that. And I think that the contribution of Italy and to the heritage of what is our shared space of Europe is extraordinary. All that we do. And in the end of it all, when you think about it, there is the life that is a life we must, I think, in everything we're doing this week, establish a baseline of meeting the necessities of life in all its different places on our planet. And even beyond that, all of that, to respect the imagination and the spirit that has given Italy such wonderful, wonderful expressions in all of the arts. And the way that Irish people, for example, moving into exile, were able to move into that. And how in the contemporary world, with travel made so much, much easier. There are young people, women and men of all ages and different circumstances, sharing with the Italians and their generation the importance of public culture in the public space, the performed world, be it in theatre and writing and so on. And I have to say, as again to my dear friend Enrico and so forth, I thank him for the extraordinary way in which, for example, he has shown how an Italian person coming, studying and knowing Irish literature, but able brought our greatest writer to the world. It is he who has done that, and so have others in relation to others of our writers. So this is an evening then, so let us celebrate the connections that bind and join us all, and let us make a resolve that we will turn all of the words, the best of the words that we will use this week on solving global poverty and hunger and migration, that we will turn them into actions that will reflect the moral sense of our authenticity. Mille buicas, es per banner. Thank you.
Welcome to our home. Very nice to have you. Just step by step.
I think that the work of IFAD is so important because it is perhaps, and their publication, the annual report of 2022, is that they offer great transparency in what they're doing. It's work that has an impact on the ground that is very, very important, enabling sufficiency, and to move from sufficiency to the surpluses will enable people to contact with local markets. It's satisfying all the criteria of responding to climate change, but as well as that, meeting demands of sustainability, but very, very important.
Il signor Bayham è il più grande scultore che vive adesso in Irlanda.
We now have 94,000 people staying in Irish homes.
94.000 che restano in Irlanda.
Un lavoro che si fa qui nelle nostre scuole in Vaticano. Di altre mani.
And it says, let us fill our hands with the hands
Il
of
meglio
others.
è riempire le mani con altre mani sempre. Questo è il messaggio della pace per quest'anno. Queste sono le cose che ho scritto e questa è l'ultima.
These are things that the Holy Father's written. This is the latest one.
Sul clima.
This O'Flaherty, Hugh O'Flaherty, may be well known to all of you, but he stood here for 10 years in this German college, and it's now the first time that we have an English booklet with the help of the Irish Embassy of the Holy See. O'Flaherty was an Irish priest in this German college in the very difficult times from 37 to 48, when he left the college, and especially in the German occupation in the most horrible times of Rome in the last century. So in the year 1943 and 1944, he ran his organization from this college, which helped about 6,000 persecuted from the Germans, from the Nazis and from the fascists. And this is really important for us as well, that It was an Irish priest in a German college who saved so many people in Rome from the Germans.
His work was extraordinary, and it took great courage. And I think that it's a great privilege to be here, just after meeting Solus Pope Francis, to be able to come and see how you are in fact honouring this, and in honouring him, honouring, if you like, the terrible tragic events from which people had to transcend in that period. But it is appropriate that Columbanus be given credit for it. For example, insofar as I am in Rome and in Italy, I believe others who may not get sufficient attention in relation to the birth of Usen are the people who produced the Ventotene Accord, Rossi and Spinelli. I think when one thinks about their desire for peace in prison and in Ireland, and their vision is in fact would become to be described as federalism, but it was one of a Europe that would never again be at war and a Europe that would be at peace. So I always take the opportunity of trying to give credit where it has been insufficiently denied to Rossi and to Spinelli. What actually Columbanus was doing was making a Europe of the spirit, and in a way that is the unfinished tasks. He had the vision to go beyond borders, beyond individual nations, and in his letter in the 7th century to the French bishops, we are all members of one body, whether Franks or Britons or Irish or whatever our race. Such an open and inclusive mindset is the one that we would all be very well to invoke at this time, when we see that the natural movements of migration, which have been there since Homo sapiens first left Africa, then in fact it isn't a case of protecting ourselves from the other, but of seeking to understand the circumstances of the arrival of the other.
So much to do, so little time. And this world might say, what's yours or mine? So roll your stone, though it rolls back down.
Ireland is a truly strong supporter of youth, and thanks to the generous contribution of Ireland that we were able to bring almost 100 youth from the Global South to this week's forum. It is very inspiring to see a leader whose actions match with words.
This week, as we have gathered here at the World Food Forum, in the headquarters of the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations in Rome, we are discussing the necessary transformation of our agri-food systems. We must be conscious not only of targets missed or imperfectly achieved, but of the need for courage and the need to generate new capacity, move to new models of better connection between economy, social protection, social justice, and ecology. That food insecurity is linked to rights, processes, unequal access to land resources, and that dispossession disproportionately affects women farmers. And women must have land rights. And on this latter issue of gender, Achieving zero hunger requires gender-inclusive, not just land but labour policies. Actions must prioritise the inclusion of women and girls who are more food insecure than men in every region of the world. Women must have a right to land recognised and enshrined. The gender gap in food security has been growing exponentially, and it will only deteriorate further in the absence of targeted intervention. Women produce 80% of foodstuffs, and empowering women farmers can thus serve as a transformative tool for food security, and I suggest inclusion, education, and democracy. However, let us not forget an intergenerational challenge that requires an intergenerational approach. We must now empower youth to be in the driver's seat to build a better, transparent model of food security in a variety of different settings. Let us endeavour together in our diverse world to seek to build a cooperative, caring and non-exploitative global civilization, free from hunger, a shared planet, a global family at peace with nature and neighbours, resilient to the climate change that is already occurring, one based on foundations of respect for each nation's own institutions, traditions, experiences, wisdoms, and cultures, founded on a recognition of the transcendent solidarity that might bind us together as humans, and reveal a recognition of the responsibility we share for our vulnerable planet and the fundamental dignity of all the forms of life that dwell on it. Movuitas, thank you very much. The importance of having courage. But it isn't only so that your courage might give the best result, the best yield, supplemented with the knowledge and the information so that people will welcome you. This is your last question. People will welcome you at the organizations on food by knowing that you are the best informed, that you are the people who have the widest and most open minds towards different models, and they will know that they can't do good practice without you being present. And I wish you well in it all.